Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, then this is the show for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create the life you love or love the life you create. Now here's your host, Dr. April, and her co-host, Coach K.
Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. How are you doing, Coach K?
I'm doing amazing. And how about yourself?
I'm so doing amazing. I'm so happy. It's June and it is like summertime.
Yes, June is my birthday month. Woo woo! Come on, June.
Happy birthday to you. Yes, definitely. I think June has so many great qualities. It's the beginning of summer. It's Coach K's birthday.
Pride Month.
Yes, which is wonderful.
Yes, that's always a good time. So proud time to be born in June or just to be alive in June.
Yes, definitely. Yes. And for anybody who's out there listening, one of the things that we are highlighting this month is the charity of the month, which is GSA Network. It is a next generation LGBTQ racial and gender justice organization. Nice. So it's like, I'm glad we're highlighting that because it empowers trans people who are queer, gay. It just really, it highlights people who are different and are able to own whatever they want to call themselves. You know, and I think that is wonderful.
Super important.
Yeah, definitely, especially in these time and days. So I'm just so excited about that. Definitely.
Yeah, the support is definitely necessary because it's a difficult time in this world and it only seems to be getting tougher and tougher, meaner. So these are great organizations when we can highlight safe havens and safe spaces.
Yes, definitely. Yes. So in June 1st today, what we're also going to talk about is psychedelic O's. Yes.
Those are already great. You can add a layer onto it.
Yes. And we definitely, and I'm so excited. We have a wonderful guest that's going to be joining us. And her name is Tara. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's Galeano or Galeano. We'll see it when she comes on. But she is a wonderful certified sex therapist who's worked with women and couples for over 2 decades to help them get their sexy back on. So I am so happy to have her because she has also a wonderful book called Rediscovering My Body.
That sounds so interesting. I'm really excited to get. I love the title of that book too, because here's the thing: even if you think that you know, to rediscover yourself over and over again is like, wow.
Yes, because as time goes on, your body changes.
It does.
Mm-hmm. It does. Yes. So it's helpful to rediscover it, to look at it, and to rediscover your partner's body. It's a variety of different things. Yes. So I'm not going to hold us up for too long. We're going to go take a commercial break and we'll bring her back on. We'll be back.
Are you wanting a vacation in paradise? Vacation to reignite the passion, the desire in your relationship? Vacation counseling is just for you. We are deeply committed to your success as a couple. Our couples counseling retreats are exclusive, effective, and intimate. At Vacation Counseling, you will benefit from a combination of couples counseling, intimacy counseling, and individual counseling while you and your partner enjoy a relaxing vacation in sunny Southwest Florida. If you are interested in vacation counseling, please visit us at vacationcounseling.com for more information on prices and packages.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Welcome, Tara.
Hello, welcome to me. Yes, thank you.
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm loving being here with you. So thank you for having me.
Good, good. Yes. I want to make sure we pronounce your name correct. Didn't know if it was a long A or a short A.
Tara Galeano.
Galeano. Okay, awesome. Yes,
I
yes.
love that artwork behind you.
Oh, I was just about
Yes,
to.
my vision board.
Yes, yes. And it has, in my mind, just so many different forms of intimacy.
True thing.
Yes, yes. From everything from the animals to the people to the atmosphere, just that closeness. So this is a show, it's about intimacy, of course. How do you define intimacy?
Yeah, I'd say intimacy is that quality of closeness, of attachment with oneself and with another.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I love how you just keep it very simple and just very, yes, yes. And you've been in this field for over what, 2 years? Oh, 20 years almost.
I have, yes, 23 years plus.
Yes. And so one of the things that I think you focus on is this DMT that we keep hearing about.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Can you
Mm-hmm.
enlighten our audience what does DMT mean and how does it relate to orgasms?
Yes. So DMT is the shortened version of, let's see, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Dimethyltryptamine is what I'd say. And it's the most potent psychedelic known on the planet. And it actually is released within our bodies at birth and at death, and then also during the rebirth, right, or the sexual experience of intimacy. So it's endogenous to our system.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, interesting. So, and I like how you said it happens when we're born.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So coming into the world can be a psychedelic experience, although most of us just don't remember that, right? And it's released from the mother into the baby. And so the mother transfers that DMT. And DMT is also released at that psychedelic level at the time of death. And so we have these moments in our lifetime of psychedelic experience. And also, right, we can begin to reference this if we were to take or ingest a psychedelic. So, yeah, so there are many opportunities. But what I would say is that because we are able to produce it within our own system, within our own body, that even taking it externally is really this opportunity to remember that we have that within our own system, that we have that capacity.
Right, right. I mean, if it's I'll work with couples, and sometimes, especially with females, we have a hard time releasing,
Yeah.
being able to reach our, full capacity. What do you guys
Mhm.
think? It's what prevents that?
Well, I mean, I'd say trauma, right? Right, right. Trauma and shame and guilt. Shame and guilt are really huge inhibitors that actually lower the frequency of our vibration, and that it's been studied to impact us even greater than fear. So, guilt and shame. I think I'm referencing Dr. David Hawkins' work, who wrote a book, and he's a was a kinesiologist, and did studies of hundreds of people, recognizing that there was actually suppression of the immune system and of our musculature when we were experiencing guilt and shame. And so I would say, yeah, that impacts us on a greater level in terms of our own sexual pleasure, because if we're feeling like we are not good enough and we don't have value, then it's hard to imagine that we can have more pleasure or more health or more vibrancy in our life.
Right, definitely. And I'm glad you mentioned that shame and guilt because shame, especially in your book of rediscovering your body, many times as women we have so much shame on our own body, which we only
Mm-hmm.
get one body in this world.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah. And so what would it be like if we honored our body and loved our body to its fullest potential and capacity? Is that we are really powerful beings. And when we're experiencing guilt and shame, that we're actually shutting ourselves down and not recognizing our vibrancy. So yeah, the book that I wrote was actually, I guess, created for women because I was working with women who'd had cancer. And so women who are on that cancer journey were really impacted by negative self-view, negative body image. And when I began to talk about the class that I was teaching to other women, they're like, I want some of that too. I want to know more about how I can activate that vibrancy and potency within my own body because I've gone through menopause, or I just had a baby, or I've experienced changes in my hormonal levels, and I want to know more pleasure. And so I wrote this book called Rediscover My Body, which actually is a guidebook. Like it's a book, it's a playbook. It's a book where women can actually activate and connect to themselves in a meaningful way with some forms and activities and lessons based upon the work that I did in this class with women who'd had cancer.
Such a beautiful job that you've been able to provide a tool for, women who struggle with their bodies after life changes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel fortunate to have been able to come to this work.
Yeah, definitely. And so in that process, when you're struggling with your body, especially when it's like life changes, whether it's cancer and menopause, what is one quick tool that you could give our audience to help them if they're in that process?
Yeah. So what I like to remind people is that it's fun, right? It's a fun opportunity to be able to explore the body, that it's not work or something that you need to try to fix or there's something wrong or that you're broken, but really beginning to change the mindset of cultivating an invitation to yourself that this can be fun. Because I think that in the seriousness of the work that we forget that, and then we're actually addressing it like it is work. And when we have that type of drudgery around it, then it's not really going to be that sexy or exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess one of the main things you said is just making it fun.
Yes, because the most important sex organ in our lives is actually our brain, right? It's our mind, right? Poof.
Yes. And then the next part is about the whole part of guilt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that it inhibits us and binds us and then controls how we show up for our own sense of pleasure. And it is the guilt and it is the shame. So the guilt is that I should have done something better or I can do something better, but I don't know what, but I can do something better. But the shame is that I'm absolutely broken or I have no value. And so that sense of I would say, desperation is a much difficult place to begin this journey. And that's often where a lot of us start because of the systems of oppression that are in place. Like we live in patriarchy, we live in a system of white supremacy. I mean, all of these reasons that we have this oppressive experience of being in a female body that's essentially been colonized. And so to actually believe that we can have more pleasure that it's beyond our wildest dreams, it feels like a very far-fetched idea for a lot of us at the beginning.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to go outside of, you put your own self in a box based on what you hear, see, and feel externally. But I even challenge any ladies who are listening to, on purpose, take yourself out of the place of who's watching and just try your pleasure in a place of I don't care who's around, whatever's going on, and let go and see the difference. Subtle differences, and even write them down. So I love that you're talking about that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And that when we actually write these things down, that this is our experience, then we can come back to it at a later date and reflect upon it and see where things may have changed or evolved for us. And that's a powerful process because we're dynamic beings and we're always ever evolving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that self-intimacy is really important in your work, and what we try to do also here is to add that other part of the spiritual.
Yes. Yes. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Dr. April, because it is the spiritual component that actually begins to activate this DMT process, I believe. Right. And that what I see is that because DMT is actually referenced as a God molecule or the spirit molecule, that it is beyond what we know in this mundane world. And that when we make that connection to spirit in the sexual realm, it elevates experience to, I would say, mind-blowing possibilities.
Right. Because when you feel that spiritual aspect, it's not only just about us, but it's about I think also the whole world, in the sense of providing more love out there, more joy, more, which of course this world could use. Yes.
True thing.
Yes. Yeah. And also just being comfortable with what you've been given and being thankful and blessed and joyful.
Yes to all of that. I love that.
Yes, definitely. But that's so hard for many people to wrap their heads around.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it is difficult. And so then we need to set up these opportunities to remember, right, within ourselves, like Coach K was saying about writing things down, is that when we have these moments that are epiphanies for us, that we can then reflect on them at a later date and come back to them. And that's actually providing us with a pathway forward that we've created for ourselves. And that I think that that's a really powerful reference. Oftentimes what I find is that we're externally referencing and we're looking for things outside of ourselves, which is helpful, like in terms of our sisters who can guide us and mentor us. But if that is the only way that we're being pulled up or knowing that we can evolve, then that becomes problematic, because it also is about referencing ourselves and knowing that we are so much more than what it is that we are showing up as in this moment, right? We're ever evolving because we are connected to the spiritual. We are connected to the divine.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Yeah, I love how you said we are so much more than what we show up for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just thinking of what you just said, being connected to the spiritual and the divine. When you think of orgasms, how close with somebody who's like completely in tune spiritually or divinely, is it easier for them to reach that point than it is with someone who's a little more disconnected?
I mean, I can only talk about my own experience, right? And I can say from my perspective, yes, is that I began this journey and knew very little about orgasm and knew very little about I would say, sexual health or sexual wellness or sexual pleasure, as I grew up in a Catholic household where the dictate was like, don't have sex. And if you do, just don't. And so really, there was no opportunity to explore pleasure. And so from that limited point of view, having an orgasm was something that I felt guilty about, that I didn't feel like I could claim all of that pleasure beyond myself. And now, having gone on a journey, right, and gone through many trials and tribulations within my own life and connecting more deeply and profoundly to spirit, I can say my orgasms today, in comparison, are much more vital, much more potent, and much more, I would say, full. And I could really ride the waves of that bliss, of that ecstasy, that I think I wouldn't have been able to do, nor was I able to do as a younger person, as a less mature woman.
Yeah, it reminds me, I was recently on a boat with my partner, and we saw these two dolphins that were having sex, and you can tell just because how they were just thumping in the waves in the water, but it was so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You understand? And you could even just feel the spiritual realm in that.
I love that. I just think that's such a beautiful reference, because my understanding is that dolphins are the only other animals that actually can have orgasm. Yes. And that when animals are in that type of ecstasy, in that heightened sense of pleasure and the divine, that it radiates out, and that actually it does impact us as you're walking by, as you feel that, because we are energetic beings. We feel that. So I love that story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, definitely. The waters and the waves were going, definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that also happens with us.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And that when we shine more light, or we are more vibrant, and we're allowing more of that, I would say, orgasmic ecstasy to come through us, that we're vibrating then at a higher level, that we're building our own capacity, and that as we shine forth in that way, that it impacts other people's only in a positive way.
Right. And I think sometimes as couples, especially those who have children, and they are not being intimate, or the woman's not enjoying it at all, which is horrible, how it just negatively impacts also the other parts of the household.
Yep.
Yeah. And to be very specific and clear that orgasmic place does not center around simply sex.
Yeah.
So I think talking about that would be very important to some people, because we have some people who may not be able to act, physically participate in sex.
Right.
But you can still have that orgasmic experience. So I think it's important to talk about that part too, that sex, is just one component of the orgasmic experience.
I love that. I love that. And what it reminds me of is that there was a speaker that I saw once, and he had a tragic accident where he became a paraplegic. And so then the point of pleasure for him became his thumb. And so instead of denying his being the opportunity to have orgasm because he was not able to access his penis, he wasn't able to have that pleasure in his penis any longer, that he then created through neuroplasticity the new erogenous zone of his thumb. And what that did is that enabled him this opportunity to be filled with that orgasmic energy within his being, and then have that experience directly by connecting with his thumb. And I just think that's such a powerful reminder that we are oftentimes so focused on the genitals as specific erogenous zones, and that it is so much more. We are so much more.
Right. And like what you said earlier, and referencing Coach K, the main sex organ is the brain.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So we can have orgasms, and I know I've had, just using my brain, not even anyone touching me or even me touching myself. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. And that women actually can do that more easily, that there's something about our systems that we can actually do that much more easily. It's a complexity of our systems, and it is also the evolution of our systems. So that's powerful stuff. Just saying that creates possibilities for other women.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm glad that Coach K, you mentioned that, because people get so limited.
Correct. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. And it's okay to have an orgasm that's caused by your brain. I mean, I've known some people be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even mean that to happen, but that is okay.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Like when you're at the gym working out and you have what do they call it? A fitgasm. It's like, whoops.
Or listening to worship music. That has happened to me, and listening to worship music.
Opening your mind.
Yes.
Yes.
This is great. I love this. So many possibilities.
Yes, definitely. Wonderful. Yes. So if people are out there listening and they want to know, how can we get in contact with you? Tell us a little bit more about you and what services you offer.
Sure. So thank you. And I am certified as a sex therapist, so I offer sex therapy. I'm also a coach, so I do some embodiment coaching with women in particular, but also with couples. And the best way to get in touch with me is through my website, taragaleano.com. And my other website is rediscoveringmybody.com.
Okay. Yes. And then you have a book.
I do, yeah, which is available on Amazon. And the book is specifically for women. And so it's called Rediscovering My Body. And it's an opportunity to go through the processes of rediscovering your body for yourself, really creating a compendium of information. So this way, nobody's telling you what is your truth, but you reclaiming it for yourself, because you're knowing your body so much better.
Yes. Yes. So definitely check out, and you call it a playbook. Yes. Rediscovering My Body. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. It's been such a pleasure.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll be back in a moment.
Sex should not be the elephant in the room. The fourth ebook of the Improving Intimacy book series, From Bringing Intimacy Back, It's All About Sex, helps you navigate every which way you can tend to your sex life. Pulling out all the stops, dive into the sensual read about sex toys, silky linens, and date nights. Improving Intimacy, It's All About Sex is available on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, and paperback. Search Dr. April Brown on Amazon to view all her books on improving intimacy for yourself, spouse, and more.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy Show, where intimacy is real. I loved her discussion.
Yeah, that was definitely, I think, a necessary discussion. Just opening up the mind and just remembering to come out of the box every once in a while.
Yes, definitely. So if you're out there listening, really definitely check out her book, Rediscovering My Body. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I've been doing some talks recently called Prioritizing Your Pleasure. And I like to do the talk because the feedback that I've gotten is they enjoy that it's not just about sex. Pleasure, the word pleasure is always just so connected with sex. And it's like, it's in your everyday. So great conversation. And we have more great conversations that are coming up in this amazing Pride and birthday month of June. So on next week, June 8th, we're going to be talking about, does your child's sexuality measure who you are as a parent? With myself and Dr. April. I believe we're going to have a special guest coming on to join us as well. I won't let that secret out yet. On June the 15th, we have Confessions of a Hollywood Sex Addict with Dan Harare. I keep saying that a little off. And then on June 29th, we have Going the Wrong Way with Chris Donaldson. So we have some amazing shows coming up.
Yes, definitely. So please stay tuned and watch us and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you so much for this show here and for coming out again, Coach K. Definitely check out our guest today, Tara Galeano, and check out all her resources. We'll be back next week, and we'll talk with you guys later.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Dr. April Brown's 7-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon. We'll see you next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe.